Hi everybody, JP Collins here. It's Friday, December, I guess it's the 9th. I don't know what day it is, but anyway, it's December. And I just wanted to check in. Julie checked in yesterday and we were talking about, the end of the year. We went out to Sebastopol to, have some downtime and just, chill and kind of reflect on the year and just have some fun. I'm back in the city. Obviously, this in the background is the Palace of Fine Arts, and it's a beautiful place. I like to come through here when I'm riding to work from the YMCA swimming pool that I swim at in the Presidio, which is just in the backyard of the the Golden Gate Bridge. So we live in a lovely city. It has its costs though, and so I guess that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. It was San Francisco, 2016, and just what's been going on. It's been a shit show of a year. Everybody I talk to and everybody I overhear has something to say about it, and they've all had crappy years, whether health or money or whatever, and I've had both of those things happen to me. I'm not going to go into it, but, it's been shitty. But, at the same time, I've been thinking about it. And the shittiness has allowed Julie and I to have some space. And that space has allowed us to do new things. So even though 2016 has been a crappy year, I'm sure the folks over here that are walking their dogs are feeling the same way. I've been feeling like it has also allowed me some space to start doing new things, and this is one of them. Book of Hours is a new project that Julie and I actually conceived of a couple of years ago, but now it's becoming more of a reality. We're doing these podcasts on YouTube. You can follow us on YouTube, Book of Hours. You can look for us on Facebook at Book of Hours, and we have a website too, and it's www.book-of-hours.com. And all those things have happened because I've actually had some time in 2016, because I haven't been working, to do those things and to start this project that Julie and I have been talking about and really make it something. And it's also allowed us time to reflect on the next 2 years. So we've set up a 2-year plan to allow us to push this further. And then the other thing that I've been able to do is I've started, reconnecting with my art career, and I've been doing more paintings, and I have a site, pylonstudios.com, PYLONSTUDIOS. You can look at that. Some of my work is in there. So I've been able to work small. I'm working in my apartment, but it's better than not. So this year, like I said, it's been a real shit show, but it's also been, opportunity. Like the Chinese, the famous thing about the Chinese character of crisis and opportunity are the same. I believe that. And, even if it isn't a true thing, it's what people say. The other thing that, I've heard over the years, and I've had, kind of a rough last 6 years, is that, when one door closes, another door opens, but the problem is the hallway in between. But the other thing I've been thinking about is a couple things. Well, the Oakland fire, of course, and just the fact that we've been getting so many. We've been getting a few comments. We've gotten more comments and more views on this podcast than any other, and the comments, typical. They come in. They're blaming the victims. They're blaming artists for not having real jobs. And it's such bullshit, because artists are, if they know what they're doing, they're small business owners, just like somebody who's running a restaurant. They have specific needs, just like somebody running a restaurant. They need specific kinds of space. They need specific kinds of things. So anyway, so there's that. The other thing that I've been thinking about is homelessness. It's winter here now, or just about officially winter in a couple weeks, and KLW, this local radio station in San Francisco, has been running a series on homelessness in San Francisco, and it's very enlightening, very interesting, because a lot of the things that people associate with the subject, like mental illness, They think that mental illness often causes homelessness, which is actually not always the case. In fact, in most cases, the mental illness comes out of the fact that people are living on the street, and that's a problem. So it's a really interesting audio series. You can get it on podcast on klw.org. That's K-A-L and then a W .org, and it's really worth looking at because just like the prejudice against artists, the prejudice against people who are different than yourself, homelessness has a real stigma attached. There's a lot of shame. And these people feel that. And homelessness isn't exactly my subject. It's not something that I campaign for, but it's something that's always on my mind. And because in San Francisco we encounter homeless people all the time, everywhere, and it's easy to ignore them. And it's something that you don't want to pay attention to necessarily because you don't want to be that person. And I think that has a lot to do with the stigma. And also we live in this country that vilifies people who end up in bad situations, and you blame the victim. You blame people for not being able to keep work or have a job or keep a roof over their heads. And I'm going through something right now where it's like there's a real my career is stalled, and it's not anything that I'm doing. It's not anything that that I'm contributing to. It's just a fact. And there's a lot of things that I can point to, but I'm not going to get into that. But what I would like to say is that just because people aren't successful in the way that you define success, or that they're not able to care for themselves either temporarily or and permanently, don't blame those people. It's not their fault necessarily, even if they're addicted to drugs. I mean, the addiction is something else. Addiction is it's a disease. It's something that it's a neurosis or a disease or something. And the more I learn about brain neurons and how we set them and how we can change them, or how we let them happen, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can't blame people for something like that. It is. You can train people to not do that. You can find ways to get around the addiction, but you have to treat that addiction first and teach people how to get around it. So don't blame people for their addictions. Don't blame people for being homeless. Don't blame people for being poor. And then all those other things. Don't blame people for being the race that they are, the person that they love. All those things come into play. And then finally, this has been a political year, and it's been very exciting and very disheartening and very frustrating, very anger-provoking. And I was talking to a guy that I know in the locker room at the pool. He's an old retired cop. He's in his 80s. And turns out his brother was mayor of San Francisco, and somebody that I vehemently opposed. He's on the other end of the spectrum. He's a conservative Democrat who pushed out a progressive Democrat. And, they were talking about that progressive Democrat and some of his history, some of the things that I didn't know about him. And, I guess what it comes down to is it's like, even if somebody who's a politician who aligns with your values, they're still politicians, and politicians are their own creatures. I'm not going to put blame on politicians for being politicians, but every time I get around politics on that very close level, I get an icky feeling. The only time that I actually haven't gotten an icky feeling is when I actually got a chance to meet and talk to Jill Stein. She aligns with my values, but there's a lot of people, especially in the Green Party, that are really confused and really kind of angry about what she's been doing. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, even though these people align with your values, they may not necessarily be people that you'd want to hang out with. Politicians are a different breed altogether, just like artists are a different breed altogether. So, even though we tend to flock with our own kind, gosh, I really don't know what my point is here, but the point, I guess, is that, I was actually able to find common ground with a man who's an ex-cop, whose brother is politically on a completely different side of the spectrum of politics for me. And because he was feeling the same way. He's like, you know, my brother's still involved with politics, and I just get this icky feeling, so I stay away from it. So I guess that's it. This reflection, you know, Julie and I will probably do a further podcast on this. But I just want to say that I found some positive feelings and some gratitude, I guess, for you know, what I've been able to accomplish during 2016. And so even though it's been a shit show of a year, I've been able to find something to make it worthwhile, and I'm happy for that. And I'm happy that Julie's in my life and that we've been able to do this thing together. So I'm going to sign off now, and I hope you're all well, and I hope you're all looking forward to 2017, because I think it's going to be a time to reconnect with family and a time to reconnect with, you know, who you are. And I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.